So starting off, we're going to open up Photoshop, and I'm going to open those renderings that I had um, just produced in here so that we can manipulate them to put below our line work in Illustrator. So this one came in nicely. However, I want to take away these shadows from this surface, and I'm going to use color range as a global selector for this. I'm going to select the black region, and I'm going to put the fuzziness down to 6 so that it's less of a range for the black to be determined within that rendering. I hit OK, and you're going to see that there's going to be some problems there and there where they're not truly the shadow as much as like a darker representation within the surface. For now, I'm just going to deselect this one guy. So I'm going to Control C, Control V to make another layer in the same location. And then I'm going to go over here and delete this and check to make sure. I'm going to delete this as well. Anything that I don't want to have represented as a shadow. I'm going to leave this here for now because it might be a shadow on that surface itself because it's reading as it right there. So with this, I'm going to select these shadows by hitting Control, clicking the viewport in the shadow layer alone, and then going over to Paths. In CS6, you're going to have a different representation of this, but it will still be in the bottom of your Paths palette. It's going to be Make a Line from Selection or Work Path from Selection. And this is where that 300 dpi comes in and helps you. So if I click that with these selected, what you're going to see is going to occur is a line that's going to go around the shadows that I had. And in terms of this case, this line is jumping quite a lot around the detailed portions of my shadow. So I'm going to delete that work path. Yes, go back to my layers, turn them all on, and then I'm going to bump up this image's resolution to 450 and see if that helps me. Select this again, go to my paths, and there we get a better degree of clarity to that line. I'm going to turn off this initial layer and then go to the paths. So the way you can select that line that you just made is to hold down Alt and click the viewport in that paths layer, and then if you hit Control C, you can directly paste it into InDesign or Illustrator. Control V. I'm going to keep it as a fully editable shape for now, and it brought them in, but there is no stroke and no fill on it, so if I make it with a black stroke without a fill, it'll keep it visible so that I can use it when I import everything. I'm going to go back to Photoshop, delete this work path layer, yes, so that I don't have it there anymore, and then turn it off. Now I'm also going to go into the second rendering and see if there's anything that I want removed. This one is not ideal because the ratio that I picked is cutting off this foreground of my shadow. So when I change this opacity way down, it's going to still have an edge of where the paper will be white and there'll be the shadow. But for now, it's just playing with that output ratio that we had in our render options. For now, this is fine. So I'm just going to close this one and then close this one. And I don't want to change anything. So now if we go into Illustrator, I'm going to open my file. A couple of you were asking how come you can't paste the Illustrator files that you're exporting is because you can't place an Illustrator file, you would open it. There's no need to really import it in to the same platform that it knows. So if I'm going to open, actually I need to make it. So I need to go into what we had done. I'm going to export this. rendering tutorial, make it an Illustrator file, call it today's date. Hit OK. Make sure that these match and hit OK. So now if I open this, I have my line work. So I'm going to just move this onto my canvas, delete my little reference, and also bring these shadows that I just pasted into a new file into this so that I can start to scale them to my line work. So I'm going to stop here, and then we're going to talk about overlaying the rendering and cleaning up our lines within the next part.